Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
Welcome back to And the EGOT Goes To, a breakdown and predictions podcast for the major US-based award shows. Today we discuss the past few months in addition to starting our abbreviated Emmys coverage. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is our host for the Emmys portion and member of our Tony's panel, JT.
Hi, how are you, Spencer?
I'm great, JT. Are you excited for today?
I am. It's going to be fantastic. I'm super excited. The strike kind of did some stuff to us, but we're here now. And now the Emmy Awards is going to be split into three parts with two creative art ceremonies and the telecast ceremony. Each of the creative art ceremonies has 49 categories, with the telecasts having 25.
Now, both of us being much more experienced with the Tony Awards, this has a lot of categories. Um, and due to the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, we aren't going to do our normal 10 episode coverage of the 2023 Emmy Awards, but we still wanted to do something. So we decided to do this sort of abbreviated coverage that will allow us to still discuss the incredible television work that was done this past year.
So we're going to split our coverage into two episodes instead of the standard 10. So we're going to have one episode where we'll do all the creative art stuff, like guest actor in a comedy series or guest actress in a drama series. And then we'll have another episode where we'll discuss everything you'll see on the telecast, like best drama and best leading actor in a comedy series.
So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, JT, there has been a strike going on both with WGA and with SAG-AFTRA. The Emmys were delayed, but I know I'm really excited to get to talk about some of this television work.
Same. I mentioned this in the Tony's podcasts, but I have made it a thing starting this year to watch every new show that debuts, at least the first episode of every new show that debuts. So there have been some shows that I've stuck with and watched the whole thing. There are some shows that I've liked that have spawned me to go watch a bunch of other shows. But I've at least watched the first episode of every single show that we're going to talk about today. So I am super excited. And the strike kind of gave me a second to catch up because I was getting real caught up. I got caught up in White Lotus Land. I got caught up in Emily in Paris Land. Of course, I got caught up in The Crown Land. So I went back and was watching old seasons. And then next thing I know, after 2 weeks of watching, an old season of a show, there's like 15 shows that debuted that week. And so now I have 15 hours of television to watch. So I got a little behind and the strike helped me catch up a little bit. It is, as we record this podcast, it is Sunday, December 10th, and I have watched all of my shows up until November 13th. So I'm about a month behind of first episodes. But we're good because none of those shows that I have to watch are nominated because they're going to be in next season's Emmys, not this season. So we're fine.
So we have a lot of shows this year that also ended.
Yeah.
You have Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, you have Succession, you have Ted Lasso, which ending, we don't know. They're being really ambiguous about it. And so The Crown also, although its last season will be in next season's Emmys, is ending this year. So a lot of finales to some really, really fantastic shows. Now, you have not finished Succession, have
I
you?
have not. So I am not on the Succession chain, and miraculously, I have avoided all Succession spoilers, and I have watched a single episode. So I'm excited. Succession has now moved its way up my list because so many people are talking about it. I'm excited to jump on the Succession train, and I think I'm going to do a series on TikTok of me watching Succession for the first time.
Now, both of us are mainly theater people.
Yeah.
And to talk about Succession from a theatrical point of view, most of the actors come from the theater world. The creator and showrunner comes from the playwriting world, and so and we're seeing that a lot in television drama. A lot of playwrights, it's not a new thing, but a lot of playwrights going to TV to make their money and then being able to write their plays, and live a normal
Yeah,
life.
you go work in TV to make money so that way you can go be broke working in the field that you love, which is theater.
And you'll see that we actually have, and we'll talk about this as we get in. There are some actors who are nominated here who are going to be on stage and possibly nominated for the Tonys this year, and so we'll be talking about that as well. And we'll be back also with coverage of the Grammys this year, and we'll be back again with our same Tonys panel. So let's go ahead and get started. We're not going to discuss every category. As we said, there are 49 in each of the creative arts categories. So we have hand selected the categories that we find most interesting and think that we have the most opinions on, and also that we think will be the most competitive. So we're going to start by discussing the categories that are going to be awarded in the first of two creative arts ceremonies, which will be taking place on January 6th. JT, do you want to start us off with that first category?
So our first category is Outstanding Contemporary Costumes for a Series. The nominees are Emily in Paris, The Last of Us, Only Murders in the Building, Succession, Wednesday, and The White Lotus.
What are your opinions on this? We have a document, by the way, to give some context that has both of our predictions on it. Sometimes they are the same, sometimes they are different. I chose Succession due to the fact that I think the costuming in Succession is actually rather genius, especially when you're talking about the luxury clothing that you have, but also talk about the different levels of luxury clothing, of whether it's a character like Roman, whose amount of luxury is very reserved, or whether it's a character like Tom, whose luxury is very like outward, and he's shouting that he's kind of rich. I think that that's just a really genius way of doing costuming, which is why Succession is my choice. But you feel differently.
Yeah, so my choice is The Last of Us. For two reasons. One, I'm gonna be a Last of Us stan until the day that I die. And number two, the accuracy of the video game to the television show and the progression of their clothes getting worse and worse throughout their journey is really great to me. I'm a huge adaptation accuracy person, if you will, at a AA person. And so the fact that the costumes are very one-to-one, everything from our leads all the way down to characters you meet for 30 seconds in the game that you only see for 30 seconds in the TV show is fantastic. So I definitely think that Last of Us has a chance of getting this, but I do want to give an honorable mention to Only Murders in the Building. It's giving Broadway show, it's giving theater, it's giving extra, and I think then we have a little bit of chance too.
Well, when you're talking specifically contemporary costuming as well, we talk about this in the theater because so many shows, that's what their costuming is. Because so many shows we don't have a lot of like period musicals anymore. Um, but to have, like a contemporary, like Hell's Kitchen, for example, the new Alicia Keys musical that you'll hear more about in our Tony's coverage, the contemporary costuming is just wonderful, and I think it's something that's incredibly difficult to do because at the end of the day, it just needs to seem like what these characters are wearing on a normal day.
Yeah, and it's super easy for a costume designer to just send their associate costume designers or their assistants to Macy's and tell them I need this color top in this style. It's so easy to do that, but they're not doing that. They're sitting down and thinking exactly what this character would wear in this moment on this day, in this time period, because they have this social economic status and because they have, like there's all these details that go into it. And that just is a tend to the writers in the writers' room and the directors and the showrunners sitting down and taking their time and realizing that costume is a huge part of a television.
I mean, it really is. But when you have a show like Succession, where you're living with these characters for 4 years, I always talk about my favorite television show of all time, The West Wing, which was on for 7 seasons. And when you live with characters for that long, and you could say that about any long-running TV show that takes place in the modern time period, you really get to know the characters. And I think the wardrobe is a large part of that. And so this is a category that's incredibly important, which is also why we started with it. Our next category is Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series. We have An Bernthal for The Bear, Luke Kirby for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Nathan Lane for Only Murders in the Building, Pedro Pascal for Saturday Night Live, Oliver Platt for The Bear, and Sam Richardson for Ted Lasso. JT, you said Pedro Pascal.
I did. Again, I am going to be a Pedro Pascal Last of Us adjacent stan, but I do feel that was a very good episode for me. I don't normally watch SNL like that. I'll like watch like sketches that are like on Instagram or you know what I'm saying, or posted on YouTube or something. But I haven't watched a full episode until he was on. It was a minute. But I watched his full episode. I enjoyed myself. I think he is very funny, and SNL deserves all the love.
But yeah, SNL has always done great stuff. I mean, they're about to enter their 50th season. But yeah, I'm not sure whether I would qualify SNL hosting in this same category, just like in general.
Right.
My vote is for Sam Richardson, who played Edwin Akufu in Ted Lasso. I thought the work that he did in that show was just so funny, and I think it deserves some praise as well. Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane is incredible at everything. I mean, if you watch The Gilded Age, he is just doing like the most work ever with his accent. Like the most ambiguous accent ever. And it's yet so fantastic. And so Nathan Lane is just king, and I would not be unhappy if he won.
We need to do a crossover episode. I know you guys would love to hear about the crossover between TV and theater when it comes to the show The Gilded Age. There's so many theater actors on that show. And there was like an article I read recently about why that's a thing. And it's so interesting. And I think we should do a one-off spin-off episode about it, Spencer. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I love The Gilded Age. But it's again, talking about costuming, just the costumes in that show are beautiful. Right. We have Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. We have Murray Bartlett for The Last of Us, James Cromwell for Succession, Lamar Johnson for The Last of Us, Arian Moayed for Succession, Nick Offerman for The Last of Us, and I'm going to say this wrong, Kevin Montreal. I said Arian Moayed because he's just incredible at Succession. Also was on Broadway this past season in A Doll's House. Just so incredible. I'd really love to see him win. JT, You felt differently.
Yeah. So Nick Offerman acted his balls off in his like episode and a half on The Last of Us. It was he played a character that's not in the video games, a new character. I'm not going to spoil anything for those who have not seen it yet, but his character has so much depth, and his character comes out of nowhere and only has like an episode and a half arc, that but you want more of him. It's very difficult for an actor to come onto a such a popular show that has such a cult following, that has a clear beginning, and we know where the show is going because we played the game before, or at least we think we know where the show is going. And for this random character to come on to the show and give us this story that we're like, wait, what? And it be in a good way, you know? He did a fantastic job, and I wanted so much more of him.
Nick Offerman is incredibly talented, and as is everyone. We're gonna keep saying that, but everyone is talented. And yeah, I have not watched The Last of Us yet.
And to correct myself, his character, I say on quote, was in the video game, but was different than the character on the show, and was not a character that I would expect to be on the show, because the Last of Us stands are going to come for me if I don't clarify that. The character was in the game, technically, but very different person.
JT, do you want to talk about our next category? It's our first agreement.
Yes. Outstanding guest actress in a comedy series. We have Becky Ann Baker for Ted Lasso, Quinta Brunson for Saturday Night Live, Taraji P. Henson for Abbott Elementary, Judith Light for Poker Face, Sarah Niles for Ted Lasso, and Harriet Walter for Ted Lasso. So for this category, I don't want to say I was on the fence. There were a couple front runners for me. When I say front runners, a couple, I mean two. That is Judith Light in Poker Face, because I just like Judith Light and I think that she's funny. But we both agreed that Miss Taraji P. Henson for Abbott Elementary, she has been in everything that she's been doing. Well, first of all, I'm a fan, and I can't say that she does no wrong, but because there's some stuff that she was in that I was like, ma'am, what? But lately, the last couple things that she's done have been chef's kiss, and Abbott Elementary is one of them. Do you watch Abbott Elementary, Spencer?
I do. I love Abbott Elementary.
She's so good.
And this is our first of two nominations for Harriet Walter, who was both in Succession and in Ted Lasso, playing the mother. She was the mother in both, and so it would also be really interesting to see if she won for one or both.
I think that Taraji is on the come up. It'd be great to see her on Broadway one day. She said that she would like to do it, but she just doesn't think that she's ready, or that she has this.
Well, she's a producer.
Yeah, on Jaja's. I would love to see her on stage. She said that she would love to, but she doesn't know if she doesn't think that she has the stamina or the energy. Girl, you could do Saturday and Wednesday matinees and I'll be okay, and I will make sure I will fit it in my schedule. Not Taraji on Broadway as a standby. Our next category is the outstanding guest actress in a drama series. Our categories are Hayam Abbas for Succession, Cherry Jones for Succession, Melanie Linsky for The Last of Us, Storm Reed for The Last of Us, Anna Tove for The Last of Us, and Harriet Walter for Succession. Spencer, you said Harriet Walter.
She's not in the season a lot, which I guess puts the word guest and guest actress. But the work that she did in this season was just truly incredible. And I'd love to see her get the win there. Now, you said The Last of Us.
Yeah, so I said Storm Reed for The Last of Us. I am newly introduced to Storm Reed. She's young. She hasn't been on the scene for long, but she's done more stuff that I wasn't aware of in the past. So she's been on a lot of people's radar for a while. I saw her in that horror, the thriller, with Nia Long. Do you remember? I forget what it was called. What was that thriller called? Where she was missing. Anyway, I saw her in that. And then that put me on a radar and then I saw her again in Last of Us, and I was like, oh, she is really good. And again, it's a guest role, and there's something about the way that she delivers negative, quote unquote, negative emotions, like anger, sadness, frustration, things like that. There's something about her performances that makes you like not feel sympathy, but be like, but I don't care if she's right or wrong. I want things to work out for her. Like it's the same way in I think the movie's called Missing. She's the same way in that. Like no matter whether she's right or wrong, just the way that she performs it just makes you like feel for her. And she's against some strong contenders here, but she 100% deserves this one.
Hey there, listeners. When the panel takes a quick intermission, I wanted to tell you about another Bloop Network podcast.
Coming soon to the Bloop Network from the producers of Thrash and Treasure, Around the World in 80 Plays, starring the adorable Lizzie B and Alfie Parker, and featuring the star of the show, Dolly the dog. They'll take you for a trip around the UK, exploring the rich arts and cultural history of the UK and Northern Ireland. Episodes begin airing exclusively to the Bloop Network on November 14th, but here is a sneak peek.
Come join us as we tour around the world in 80 plays. I am Lizzie B.
And I'm Alfie Parker.
And we are joined by our leading lady, co-host, travel buddy and fur baby, Dolly the dog. For this week's very first episode, we're starting at Southend for 5 days on the first stop of the Sister Act UK tour. In this series, we're going to be exploring UK and Northern Ireland's wonderful arts history and culture as we make our way from city to city with Sister Act. But first, we should probably start off by telling our listeners a little bit about who we are. We thought it would be more fun to kind of do this through a little game. So last night when we were preparing for our first episode, we secretly went and wrote 5 questions to ask each other to find some random facts about each other that maybe we don't even know. We should probably say that we are a couple. We are engaged, me and Alfie. What a lucky man. We've been together for 5 years now and are working together, which would be some people's idea of hell, but we love it and we're in a great show and we're very lucky. So yeah, we move around the country with each other and with the best dog ever, Dolly. But I think through these questions, we might actually find out some new information about each other. So, Alfie, do you want to ask the questions first?
Let's do it. Here we go. 5?
Yeah, 5 questions.
5 questions.
For you
All right,
as well.
let's do it. Here we go. Your favourite flavour of crisp?
Do you know what? I'm going to say salt and vinegar because I would normally say like sour cream and chive, something like that. But I'm really in a salt and vinegar phase at the moment. The ones that hurt your mouth.
The ones that burn.
Yeah, the ones that burn. That's what I like when I eat a crisp.
Nice. Question 2. What are 2 things on your bucket list?
That is such a good question. My questions are rubbish compared to you. I'm going to say skydiving, but I think you already knew that because I'm an absolute adrenaline junkie and I would love to do that. And going to South America, which I think you already know as well. Alfie and I are very like finance conscious, I would say, and we're actually really rubbish at treating ourselves. But I've decided that saving up to go to South America, not even with Alfie, but with my mum, is kind of the next big thing that I would love to do. So that's probably, my main thing I would love to do.
Okay. If your life was a song, what would it be called?
Why are these questions so good? That's not the answer. My questions are going to be really disappointing after this. I think it would be called... This is going to be such a cheesy answer, right? Something like... I never thought I'd actually do it.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it would be kind of referring to like, I have achieved so much that I have always wanted to, but I never actually thought I would get to do it.
It's nice.
So,
A good answer.
there we go.
What does not belong on a pizza?
Pineapple.
You see, I disagree. I mean, I only ever had it about twice. Pineapple on a pizza is great.
The thing is, though, I'm not the biggest fan of like fruit with...
In general.
No, that actual burn of it all, though. Fruit in general, you're actually so mean. No, fruit with like savoury foods. Like, I don't really do like, you know how some people are really into like raisins and stuff? I just can't bear it.
Yeah.
So pineapple, no, that's sacrilege. Right, was that your questions?
I've got one more.
Oh, God. Okay, here we go.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I feel like it changed quite a few times in my life. So as a kid, definitely pop star was top of the list. But then I actually still have PTSD from this time when at primary school, I was sitting with my friends and we were designing costumes we were going to wear to be pop stars. And then I drew a picture of me in a denim crop top and the girl sat next to me went, that's not a crop top, it's a bikini from Marks and Spencer's and you can't wear it to be a pop star. And at the time it was like the meanest thing someone had ever said to me, and I still have PTSD, so that was the day that dream died. Then I felt like pop star was like top of the list, but I actually, in a sensible way, wanted to be a newsreader. So that's what I thought I would actually end up doing. And then becoming an actor was just...
Mistake.
A mistake. What have I done? No, I'm like really happy, but I think I was trying to be like realistic, but now I'm actually doing the best job ever.
Yeah, cool.
So my questions are so rubbish compared to what you've just asked me. It's literally like a 5-year-old's written them.
Normally I'm the rubbish one, so that makes
Alfie's making a really good impression in the first episode and I'm just letting everyone down.
First impressions are important. You'll notice as we go on that I get progressively more rubbish.
Yeah, to be fair, the only way is up for me and the only way is down for you, so it's fine. Right, here we go.
And now, back to And the EGOT Goes To.
Now we've gotten to more costuming. Outstanding period costumes for a series. You have The Crown, The Great, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Perry Mason, and Queen Charlotte: A Bridgerton Story. Now, what I will say is neither of us said The Crown, but I would like to make a case for it.
Okay.
The amount of clothing replication that they are doing in terms of like specific outfits from specific historical moments it is really cool and is really well done. And so I would like to make a case for The Crown because I think that the specific like replicating historical outfits is really, and they've been doing it to a T.
And The Crown is the show about Princess Diana, right?
The Queen, but Princess Diana is in it, yes.
Same thing. when it comes to British politics, it's all the same thing.
I said The Great, which is a great television show. In fact, you can see Elle Fanning, star of The Great, right now on Broadway, Inappropriate, through March 7th. But yeah, I love The Great. I think it's a fantastic television show, and the costume.
And
you said Bridgerton.
Yes.
Which makes sense. Also has beautiful costumes.
Yes. That was probably Bridgerton. I am hoping gets costumes and score. The choice of music the reworking of popular songs that were there's a word. You're a music person, Spencer. What is the word? Not reorchestrated.
They were arranged.
Rearranged. That's what I'm looking for. The way that these contemporary songs, there's like 10, like when I say contemporary, I mean like top 40 this year songs that they were able to rearrange to fit not only the story, but of course the style of the show. I'm not going to go on a music tangent right now, but holy shit. And the costumes are so good. I am obsessed. They're with both of the characters, both versions of Charlotte have the same feel, even though she has grown as a person. It's played by two different actresses. Like it still feels like Queen Charlotte, and it's so good. It's just so good. I love time jump shows where it doesn't feel like the person jumped into another world or another decade until everything about them is the same. Her style is still the same, and all the characters' styles are the same. And it's weird to have an individual, I want to say weird, but it's unique to have your own individual style in a world and a time period where everyone wore the same style, because I feel like everyone being unique and wearing different types of clothing is a very modern thing, because in the 1800s every woman dressed the same, every man dressed the same, and if you didn't dress like that, it's because you were poor, and like that was a level of status. And so for her to have her own style even in that is super cool to me. So that's why I think the costumes gonna go to Bridgerton.
Yeah, and to go back to what you said about the music in Bridgerton, I think it's so interesting everyone talking about like the string arrangements of pop songs as if it's like this new thing. Because like it's been happening for 30 years. Like it's such a well-known like thing, and I don't know. I just think it's so interesting that people are acting like it's this newfangled invention.
You know what I think it is? I think that it's the songs that are being used are songs that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Like Drop It Like It's Hot by Snoop Dogg is not supposed to be a string arrangement.
What do you mean?
So I think it's just like songs you don't, that you're not, it's not like I would expect like a love song, like a Michael Jackson that love ballad, of course one day will be played by just cellos and violas. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's just really interesting. Our next category is one of my favorites, one of the ones I'm most excited about, and that is Outstanding Television Movie. The nominees are Dolly Parton's Mountain Magic Christmas, Fire Island, Hocus Pocus 2, Prey, and the Al Yankovic story. You said you think it's going to go to Weird.
Yes, I think Weird is one of the best biopics ever. Daniel Radcliffe, also currently on Broadway. You can catch him in Merrily Roll Along, my favorite show of the season so far. Is just it's just so well done. The cameos, it's the perfect biopic, and I really hope it wins. I'm fine with the rest of these, but like Weird was just so well done.
So I didn't get to see it in full. I watched plenty of clips because like the week it came out, it was all over TikTok. But I loved Fire Island. I think that there's a lot of breakout stars in Fire Island. I feel like Fire Island did something that is interesting and cool, and that's by putting not a bunch, but giving cameos and full scenes to TikTokers and social media stars, which is like, taking a chance on them, even though their acting may not have been great. I think that it was a story that needed to be told. I think that it was funny. I think that it has a chance, especially in a world where we're seeing more queer and POC stories being told. I feel like it has a chance. Being not necessarily being told, but being appreciated. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and that is our first creative arts ceremony that you can watch all those categories being awarded on January 6th at the first creative arts ceremony. Now, we'd like to wish everyone happy holidays from the And the EGOT Goes To team, as well as from our team at Bloop Network. You can listen to our other shows, Thrash and Treasure, Around the World in 80 Plays, and my newest show, Opening Doors, Navigating the Future of the Theater Industry, when we're talking to young theater professionals about the future of the theater industry.
You can find me on all social media at JT Does NYC. And maybe by our next episode, I'll have a special announcement about a new podcast. I'll just leave that with you for now. I'm excited.
I'm also excited to announce that I'm producing my first ever show at 54 Below in New York City on July 23rd. I'm really excited about it. You can buy tickets to that at 54below.org. And you can, that's on July 23rd. It's called 54 Sings Wolfpack, where we're singing the music of the funk group Wolfpack. I'm really excited about it. You can also catch the And the EGOT Goes To Tony's panel at BroadwayCon this year from July 26th to 28th. We'll be at a panel talking about the Tony Awards season that has just passed, so the season that we're currently in. I'm so excited about all the things that are coming for us this year. It's really exciting.
I'm so excited for BroadwayCon. I had such a good time last year. I'm so excited. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us, and we'll see you guys next time.